Good morning. This week as a church, we're focusing on being chosen through trial by reading about the story of Joseph in Genesis 37 through 50. We meet Joseph at the beginning of chapter 37 as a spoiled and arrogant 17-year-old who is the favorite of his father. He goes through many trials and hardships between the time he is sold into slavery by his brothers and when Pharaoh names him as second in command over all of Egypt at age 30. But God never leaves him through it all. During that time, Joseph grows into a wise, kind, and compassionate man. The key verse in our chosen journals this week is Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. The whole story of Joseph embodies this verse, and Joseph himself acknowledges similar thoughts when speaking to his brothers. Once when he first reveals himself to his brothers in Egypt, and once after the death and burial of their father Jacob. The first is in Genesis 45, starting in the second half of verse 4. I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. And then the second verse is in Genesis 50, starting in verse 19. But Joseph said to them, Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your children. And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. I encourage you to take the time to read over this story more than once throughout the week. And as you read, look for others who were also chosen by God to be or do something, such as Reuben, who was chosen to stop their other brothers from killing Joseph. I also encourage you to take the time to decorate Joseph's coat that Brenda put in the journal. And you can do it either as a family or by yourself and send a picture of your completed coat to Brenda. Blessings on your week.